Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another Red Sox CLNS Roundtable. Alex Barth and Nick Quaglia with you. If you caught the end of our last roundtable, if you didn't, go look. And if you did, we ended arguing about the Red Sox possible playoff rotation and that, with the guys they have, there may not be a strong rotation. So here's the other shoe. Here's essentially part two of that roundtable. What the Red Sox need to do with the deadline, and with the deadline coming up, we'll have a couple of these in the next couple of weeks. We know they need more than just pitching, but this one's going to focus on what the Red Sox can do pitching-wise at the deadline to add an arm. And Nick, I think since we ended on such hostile terms last time, let's start here. I think we both agree on this. They do need to add an arm before the deadline. If they really want to make a run at this, they need to acquire another pitcher.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, when you say an arm, obviously you're talking about starting pitching, but I also think they probably need to add to the bullpen too. So both assets of the game for relief pitching and starting, they absolutely probably need both of those if they want to contend at all come playoff time.
Well, if you want to add a starter, if you want to add a reliever, you could add a starter and then move David Bryce to the bullpen. But I digress for now. All right, so I put down a couple names. We can go through these. Nick, tell me if any of these move the needle here for you. Now, it is going to be a very weak class in terms of very weak group in terms of starting pitchers available at the deadline this year. For the sake of argument, we're trying to keep this realistic. We're not going to include Jacob deGrom because with what Dave Dombrowski's done, the Red Sox don't have the pieces to get him. And I've had sources in New York tell me that the last thing the Mets want is Jacob deGrom in the market, but not pitching for them. So I'm not sure the Red Sox or the Yankees can get him, but at least this is something I've been working on, Nick. I've been workshopping for a little bit. I think we'll take Severino and Sale out of the discussion because those two may be the two best pitchers in the American League. You know what you're going to get from them. They're good. They're consistent. If they meet in a playoff game, it's going to be much watched television. After that, you have guys in both these rotations that, some nights will be good. They're not bad, but they're not consistent either. Guys like CC Sabathia, guys like Masahiro Tanaka, guys like Eduardo Rodriguez, and guys like Rick Porcello. They're good pitchers, but you can't always count on them night in and night out. And then each team has their high-priced stinker in Sonny Gray and David Price. So given it's such a weak market, what this is all leading up to is there may only be one guy that moves of any ability at the deadline. And the Red Sox and Yankees are going to be at the forefront of that bidding war. Whoever gets that guy may not only have the inside track on winning the division, but also the head-to-head playoff series that we all know is imminent. So, all right, here we go, Nick. Here are the names. Tell me if any of these guys stand out to you. We've got Matt Harvey in Cincinnati, Cole Hamels in Houston, Francisco Liriano in Detroit, J.A. Happ in Toronto, and Tyson Ross in San Diego. Those are the names that people expect could potentially move at the deadline. And I will say there are some guys in there, Nick, that do fix things for the Red Sox.
Yeah, and I'll start it off with this. I don't think I want Tyson Ross specifically because he pitches in San Diego, and we've seen it enough times now where when you come from a market that really doesn't care about baseball and then you try to transition over to Boston, we see it become a train wreck. And I'm not trying to point out to any specific players on the Red Sox right now.
Right, you're talking about David Price, but you badmouthed him earlier, so you don't want to go back.
But
what about Jake Peavy?
Jake Peavy? Well, Jake Peavy's a totally different story because he's got the personality where he's a workhorse, where he's a grinder. I mean, he's the kind of guy who he loves the grit. He loves to get down and dirty. That's why I thought he worked here in Boston. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about Tyson in San Diego.
Well, I mean, he pitches in San Diego. What can you know about him?
Exactly, personality-wise. But all that tells me is he's not used to pitching in front of crowds that really give a crap about whether or not he wins the ball game. The most intriguing one is for sure Matt Harvey.
Yep.
Matt Harvey, I mean, you brought it up. I'll let you talk about it more because you're more interested in Matt Harvey, in my opinion. Cole Hamels is another one. Cole Hamels went from Philadelphia over to the Texas Rangers, and last year he showed some success. This year, not as much. ERA north of 4, and his whip is 1.36. Not great, but to be honest with you, you talked about it in the intro. The Red Sox don't have much to trade for that would be much better than a guy around a 4 ERA because all of your prospects that are worth trading are mostly gone. And it's just, you can't make that move. Like maybe you can make Blake Swihart and somebody else part of a package to get somebody like that, but you just don't have the pieces to get anybody better. And Cole Hamels, he's a vet. You typically want to trade for veterans, who have that playoff experience too. near the trade deadline. So Cole Hamels might be the guy who finally makes his way over to Boston with rumors, it seems like every single year around 2010, 2011, 2012. Shout out Henry Owens for not being traded straight up for him when they were going to trade Henry Owens for Cole Hamels. That would have been
a terrible idea, right?
That would have been incredible. But Cole Hamels might be the most intriguing guy on that list to come here because he's a vet. He's been in the playoffs before, and maybe he just needs a change of scenery. And maybe with the lack of prospects that you have to trade, maybe that guy will be the guy to come over here to Boston.
No, I mean, I'll tell you what, Nick, you hit it on the head with what can the Red Sox give up? And that's why this scares me, to go back to my theory of, if only one of these guys gets moved, and these aren't all quality pitchers. These are just guys who might move. Francisco Liriano, his ERA's 4.5, but
none of them are quality this year.
Right. No. See, here's the thing. I think Harvey is. I'll get to that in a second. But if it comes down to one pitcher and there's a bidding war, the Yankees are going to win. And that's what concerns me. So you may end up with a Cole Hamels or Francisco Liriano. That's where Tyson Ross intrigues me. He does have a 4.4 ERA, but that's pitching in the NL West. The Red Sox have a pretty good relationship, it seems like, with San Diego. They may be able to get Tyson Ross for a low-level prospect because San Diego's not doing anything with a 31-year-old pitcher in the last year of his deal. We know that. So that's where Tyson Ross interests me. But if the Red Sox can somehow convince the Reds or pull a prospect out of their ass or something, not Cole Hamels, pardon me, Matt Harvey, since being traded to the Reds, has an ERA of 3.8, a whip of 1.16. He's gone out. He's won ball games. He doesn't go deep into games. He generally pitches 5 or 6 innings because we all know the Mets ruined his arm. But we also know Matt Harvey's a competitor. Matt Harvey loves pitching in the big game, and that's part of the reason he was so disgruntled in New York with the Mets. He didn't get any big games. The other thing is Matt Harvey won't go to the Yankees. I had imagined that he would be against that. And now, I don't think he has a no-trade clause. I don't think he has much of a say. But I also don't know how much the Yankees would want Matt Harvey because I don't know how he might not want to pitch in New York. That, to me, is the guy the Red Sox have to go after because, first of all, he has the best numbers on the list. He has superstar experience. Well, he didn't pitch in any big games. At one point, people considered him the top pitcher in baseball. He was pitching on national television in front of engaged audiences pretty much every start. And I don't know if they're going to get much competition from the Yankees for Matt Harvey. So that's the guy to me. That's the move to make. Is go and get Matt Harvey if I'm the Red Sox. I don't know how much it takes to get him.
It probably doesn't take much. I mean, let's be honest. Like, look at this list of guys right here. They're all hovering, aside from Matt Harvey, and even he's close. They're all hovering around a 4 ERA. That's not going to be really enticing teams to be trading their top prospects or some top players or even starting players on their major league roster. It's going to take, bench guys, depth guys, and probably some lower level prospects, maybe some cash considerations, which, the Red Sox obviously have a ton of cash. But I think that might even be Matt Harvey might be the best guy for this move, either Matt Harvey or Cole Hamels, too. Like I was saying before.
See, I think Hamels is done. I think his arm is rubber at this point. Hamels might be the last guy on that list I want. Maybe Happ. Hamels or Happ are probably the last two guys I want.
From garbage right now.
Right? Yeah, no, none of these. Well, no, I think Harvey is a legitimately good option. I look at this list and most of them I say, okay, yeah, the only reason Tyson Ross, the only reason Francisco Liriano's in the conversation is because it's a really down year for pitchers at the deadline. Again, we're excluding Jacob deGrom and we're excluding Chris Archer because he's got an injury situation going on and I doubt Tampa trades him in the division. Matt Harvey, to me, is a legitimately good option. Any other year, if they got Harvey at the deadline, there might be better players, but I'd say, you know what? That's a good move. I will be behind them. I mean, we'll see what they would give up, but if they trade for Matt Harvey, I'm all in on it. And another thing with that is that, and we will talk about this in another roundtable, they need another outfielder. We all know it. Nick, you can keep believing Jackie Bradley Jr. will be something.
It's at a solid 198.
Maybe you go out, 2 birds with 1 stone. Cincinnati get Matt Harvey and Billy Hamilton. Billy Hamilton supposedly on the block as well. If you get those 2 guys, what's up?
What would you trade?
Jackie Bradley Jr., Blake Swihart.
You think that gets it done?
Supposedly the Reds are high on Swihart. Maybe you throw in another prospect. Bradley and Hamilton are essentially the same player. They both just need a change of scenery, except Hamilton's hitting 220, which is somehow 22 points higher than the guy you're trading him for. I don't think you have to give up a lot to get either of those guys. They're not a part of the Reds' future. They have a deep, deep farm system. You probably just absorb contracts. You pay the money because that's what the Reds don't have. Yeah, I think that's realistic. Matt Harvey and Billy Hamilton are two guys the Red Sox should have circled, and they happen to be on the same team, which makes things easier. And Nick, I know you want to get into it before we wrap up here. We talked about needing a bullpen arm as well. We floated the idea about Zach Britton on previous roundtables. That's sort of the only name I've heard, honestly, in connection to the Red Sox in terms of the bullpen. Is there anybody else that you think maybe they need to go and get?
I mean, nobody connected, but there's one of the teams that intrigues me every year at the trade deadline is the Oakland A's, because they either
So Sean Manaea?
small market team, they're either all in or they're just selling their roster. So they've got Blake Trinan, who's been closing out games for them. He was with the Nationals for, I think, 3.5 years beforehand. He was going to be their closer. It never really worked out. Moved over to the A's, and so far with the A's this year, he has been cruising. He's got a .81 ERA right now, .889 WHIP. So that's a guy that you could stick in the eighth inning role, because as much as some people love Joe Kelly, I'm iffy with Joe Kelly at this point. You still need that eighth inning setup, man. I know Thornburg just came back in to the rotation. He was just activated in the bullpen, but that doesn't mean he's going to be your eighth inning guy right away. That's what you traded him for. That's what you traded for him for, but he's clearly not ready for that role yet. This guy could be your solid eighth inning guy. He's essentially would be a second closer, basically what you thought you were getting out of Tyler Thornburg. I mean, hell, you could get hit with the Dave Dombrowski curse, trade for this guy, and then he goes on the DL. But I think he would be a legitimate option. Who knows what you'd have to give up for him? He's been pitching out of his mind this season, so you'd probably have to give up something more than you'd have to even give up for Matt Harvey and Billy Hamilton. And then there's Darren O'Day, who's sneaky. He's having a pretty good season right now with the Baltimore Orioles. I don't know if they would trade to the Red Sox, but Darren O'Day this season has been somebody who's worth keeping an eye on. And he's been pitching. He's been one of the best relievers in their bullpen. And his ERA is a little north, so that kind of signifies to me that you're not going to have to give up too much. It's a 3.6 ERA right now, but those are bullpen numbers. If you want to stick the guy somewhere in the middle of it, again, he's another veteran who's been there before. He's done it before. So that's another guy who kind of intrigues me. Orioles selling, obviously, they're garbage. They're a garbage fire of a team. So those two guys, in my opinion, are guys to keep an eye out for, and possibly could land with Boston.
One more name, too, is Brad Hand, again, to go out to San Diego. He's a guy that's been talked about moving, and a guy that has definitely had some success. Doesn't necessarily have that postseason success, but a guy I think could fit with the Red Sox. But look, I'm more concerned about the starting rotation, honestly, than the bullpen, Nick, because you have Thornburg coming back. We'll see what he is, but I'm encouraged by him. I think David Price is an answer there if they need him. And I'll give you one more, and I'm going to be, I got to touch on my Lowell spinners. And Durbin Feltman was the Red Sox seventh-round draft pick, I believe, out of TCU. Look, they said this kid might be one of the rare examples of a guy who gets drafted and makes it to the majors by the end of the year he's picked.
He throws gas, too.
He's faced 9 batters professionally. He struck out 7 of them. He had an 8-pitch inning with 3 strikeouts the other week. Now, I know it's short season A, but the kid is pitching on another level. I got a chance to talk to him yesterday. Talk about being the anti-David Price in terms of mindset. Every question I asked him, all he said was, I want to compete. I want to go out. I want to win every pitch. I want to beat the batter on every pitch. I want to be better than the batter on every pitch. There's literally nothing about this kid that I'm concerned by. Now, look, I'm not saying he can come in and be the 8th inning guy and strike out the middle of the Yankees lineup in Game 7 of the ALCS. That's not what I'm saying. But the Red Sox bullpen is such a question mark right now. I will take anybody who can be some sort of cement in there. And I trust him to come in the 6th or 7th inning if the starter's not giving you everything and get a couple of guys out. I think he could do that at the major league level. I don't think he'll be in long. I could see him making the jump straight to Portland, skipping high A. Well, I mean, again, this is all speculation, but don't count out Durbin Feltman from pitching in the majors this year. There's a reason they drafted this kid. And it wasn't for 2020, 2021, 2022. It'd be nice to have him on the roster at that point, but I think that they have eyes on him making it to the majors this season.
I've heard that a couple of times. I've heard that a couple of times out of the kid, and I know he throws absolute heat. And, if you could bring up that young arm into Boston, the only thing that makes me nervous is you don't want to bring him into Boston, have him get rocked, and then have that screw up his psyche.
So here's the thing, though. Durbin Feltman is a diehard Patriots fan. He knows. He knows. But let me see. He knows what the Boston fanhood is like. He knows what Boston media is like. And look, It's a long way. Fenway Park's a long way from TCU. We did pitch in the Big 12. He pitched in some big college tournament games. He's not adverse to pressure. This will be pressure like he's never faced when he gets to Boston. But I think part of the reason that he can get called up to the majors this year is that he did pitch really in as big of a stage as you can at his age. If you want to hear my full conversation with him, by the way, you can check out the Spinners Sit Down podcast on littlespinners.com. Hashtag shameless plug. And we'll end it there, Nick, because this is a 16-minute roundtable. We've gone well long on this, but I think it was all good content. What do you think? Do you have any names you want to see the Red Sox add at the deadline? Is there anybody we mentioned that they should stay away from? Poison pill. Put it down in the comments below. Nick and I will let you know what we think. We reply. We surf in the comments from time to time. No burners. You'll know it's us. But we'll be down there from time to time. For more roundtables, check out clnsmedia.com. Follow us on Twitter at Red Sox CLNS. For Nick Qualia, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.